Thanks, all of you. Roll call now. Charity Farrar, Margaret Shaw, Jackie Tate, Jayla Robinson, and Lene Hicks, and Diane Kramer. And while they're coming up, the next group that needs to get ready is Josh Masters, Ellen Sweets, Daniel Rosa, Cassie Bills DeArgeny, I apologize, I probably didn't say that right, Bonnie Van Cleric, and Janet Longmore will be the next group up. Okay, Ms. Farrar. She here? Oh,
I am here.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Hello. Thank you very much for allowing us the privilege to come and address you today. My name is Charity Farrar. I am from San Antonio. I am here on behalf of myself and my clinic, Life Choices Medical Clinic. I am the executive director there, and I am in favor of SB1. I have given written testimony, but I really just want to talk to you from my heart. We see what happens to young women and young men who come in that are in a crisis pregnancy. We offer them love and support. We do free pregnancy testing. We do free ultrasounds. We do STD testing and treatment at my clinic. And we offer them the ability to have the information that they need to make the right choice for themselves. We're not in the business of changing their mind. We're in the business of giving them the truth and telling them exactly the risks and the benefits involved in all of the decisions that are available for them. I believe that this bill will make women safer. I believe that it will enable them to have a relationship with their doctor, that if something goes wrong, their physician can accompany them to the hospital so that they can be cared for properly. I believe that it will help our young women and men to make better choices for their lives. Thanks so very much for this, and I ask you would vote in favor of this bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Dr. Michaud, did I say that right?
I'm Dr. Margaret Meacham. I'm a PhD, and I have an MBA in healthcare, along with 10 years of experience in healthcare administration up at the Texas Tech Medical Center in Lubbock. So I was ultimately over OB, surgery, and orthopedics, and did a lot of the institutional strategic planning for all three groups because we were considered the surgical group. So I'm against this particular bill, and I'd like to talk about two things: patient scheduling and credentialing. The way that this bill is set up, if you have that the patient has to come back 2 times, require them to do 2 visits, then that would cut our ability to see patients by 50%, the volume, because that individual has to come into 2 slots now instead of 1. So someone else was saying that it really says 4 visits in this particular version, and if that were so, then we would be cut down to being able to only see a quarter of the patients that we were able to see before. So that limits access dramatically. Also on physician credentialing, the question has been, will the hospital credential the physicians? The answer is that they will only do that if the physicians, if those particular procedures that the physician wants to do are also in line with the hospital's focus. If they don't provide that service, they will not credential that physician for that particular procedure, because otherwise they would be liable medically for any complications, and they just will not cover it. In particular, a lot of the government hospitals, state-run, county-run, are going to be encouraged not to credential any of these people based on this bill. And then the other hospitals tend to be church-run, so they, of course, are going to say no based on their religious preference.
Thank you, Dr. Meacham. Okay, Ms. Tate?
Yes, hello, my name is Jackie Tate, and my representative is Kirk Watson. I'm from Laga Vista, and I'm for SB1. I own a medical and commercial construction company and personally manage dozens of multiple healthcare projects, both hospital and non-hospital, and understand infection disease control and critical areas and in a medical environment. While I have not constructed ACSs myself, I can read regulations and spoke to many peers and colleagues that have. In my study of all of these, it is clear and unquestionable that the ASC provides adequate size of procedure areas, physical management of infectious environment, and the availability of emergency equipment and personnel. I'm pretty disgusted that the state regulation is minimum standards, and minimum standards are all that is acceptable for women's health care. We deserve better. The construction and design for ACSs, including plumbing, ventilation, and other design standards, are necessary to ensure the health and safety of patients and quality assurance for patient care. Major complications in abortion procedures is infection and anesthesia complications, and they're costly to women. In series of 1182 abortions, they showed that 27% of the patients required post-abortion infections, which may result from procedures taking place in a facility, are a cause of great concern. And we talk about a small percentage. Let's take that into human numbers. 0.5% of 72,000 abortions a year, or 360 women, and there's a much greater group that is being infected by abortion. And all of these rooms that are itemized in ASC are important for infection control.
Thank you for your testimony. Ms. Robinson.
Hello. Thank you for allowing me to speak before you. My name is Jayla Robinson. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm a constituent of Senator Kelly Hancock, and I'm here to testify against SB1. I would like to contribute a personal story about the positive effect that access to abortion can have for women and their families. When my mother was 18, that was 35 years ago, she was raped repeatedly by her boss. She became pregnant. At the time, she had dropped out of school and had few prospects for the future. Scared and with little recourse, she obtained an abortion. Afterwards, she went back to school, where she met her husband. Now she's been married 33 years, has a master's degree, and a successful career as an HR professional. She has 2 daughters and 1 beautiful grandson. She suffered no ill effects from the abortion. There was no emotional trauma. And had she not had the choice of having an abortion available to her, she would likely not have thrived as she has. People in favor of restricting abortion often argue from the assumption that the only way to save a life is by carrying an unwanted pregnancy to term. My mother's case shows that this is not true. Not only did her abortion allow my mother to leave behind a painful part in her life, it also ensured the future lives of her 2 daughters and grandson. She was able to plan her own family so that all members have become contributing members of society. Her decision secured a decent standard of living, as well as a full and complete life for her daughters. Allowing women like my mother the freedom to control their own reproductive decisions facilitates thriving, healthy families. On a more personal note, had my mother not been able to have an abortion at that point in her life, I would not be here today speaking before you. Her life is a success story, and it is a success story because of a decision she made 35 years ago to have an abortion. I would ask the legislators to consider the potential consequences of restricting access to this medical procedure. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hicks?
Hi, my name is Renee Hicks. I'm from San Antonio. I am a proud constituent of Senator Donna Campbell, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I'm representing myself, and I also am representing Life Choices Medical Clinic. I never thought a year ago that I would be affiliated with a pregnancy crisis center. When I was 20, I became pregnant prior to marriage, and of course my mother insisted that I get an abortion. I chose not to, simply because I didn't think it was right for me, but who am I to say what's right or wrong for someone else? And I went about the next 30 years basically thinking, well, it's not right for me, but who am I to say it's not right for you or whomever? I was invited to go to a luncheon that was hosted by Life Choices Medical Clinic, and at that luncheon, they had these little babies. And the baby, it didn't look like the glob of cells that I was told it was. It's a human being. And I think that's the crux of the matter. At 20 weeks, this is a 12-week-old fetus.
I find it difficult to believe that someone just turns on a switch at 8 months and suddenly the baby can feel. I mean, the groundwork for the neuro system is laid at 3 weeks. So it's logical that it's going to become more and more sensitive over time. It's not a matter of at 8 weeks suddenly the baby is miraculously able to feel. I've carried 2 children to term, and I know for a fact if I would poke on the baby could feel it. It would kick and it would move. And yeah, I mean, it's a human being. And I think, you know, I see all you guys on TV, and it's hard to think of you as real people, but I'm here and I see you're real people. Well, the baby is a real person, too.
Thank you. Ms. Kramer.
My name is Diane Kramer. I'm from Austin. Kirk Watson is my senator. I'm against Senate Bill 1. I'm representing myself today as a woman who came of age prior to Roe versus Wade. In 1971, I had to choose between an inaccessible legal abortion or an illegal one. The same situation many Texas women will face if you pass this legislation. I was a college junior, a good student, but one who was naive about boys and inexperienced with alcohol. One night, the boyfriend I trusted encouraged me to drink excessively and then ignored my protests as he took advantage of me. My university in rural Oklahoma was nowhere near the 3 states where abortion was legal. I didn't have the money or time away from classes or my job for a trip of such distance. I reluctantly chose an illegal abortion. I believe this legislation will result in the closing of many facilities that provide reproductive health care and inadvertently give rise to the return of illegal abortion. This legislation will not protect women's health. Instead, it will increase the cost and distance that women must travel to the few clinics that can meet your restrictions many medical experts say are unnecessary. It will delay an abortion for many and deny a safe one to those who won't have the money, transportation, or ability to take leave from their job. Many women will choose an illegal abortion, as I did. Throughout history, women have pursued control over their own bodies and the right to reproductive choice. No legislation will stop that. Please vote no on Senate Bill 1.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, this panel. If you would exit out that way.